I first encountered today's guest in the 90s revival of Grease, where he blew the roof off the Eugene O'Neill Theater singing Beauty School Dropout. This spring, he'll do the same at the Al Hirschfeld Theater, where he stars in the new musical, Kinky Boots. Please welcome Mr. Billy Porter. Hi, Billy.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm fantastic.
You are not sporting kinky boots today.
I am not sporting kinky boots.
What are you wearing? Are these butch boots?
These are Cole Haan, winter boots.
A winter moment.
I dress for the weather. Yes, I do.
So you did Kinky Boots in Chicago.
Yes.
Big hit in Chicago. I saw it. Loved it.
Thank you.
Loved you.
Thank you.
You are quite a stunner in this show. You are not. This is not what you will see on stage at the Al Hirschfeld Theater. You are a woman.
I am a lady.
You are a lady. You're a
play
drag
Lola,
queen. But yeah, you played Lola.
who is a drag queen, and I speak of her in the third person.
Okay.
So, because it's a completely different person than me.
Right.
And sometimes I look at pictures and I just go, I don't know who that woman is.
Right.
But it's not me.
Yeah.
And as an actor, it's really great to sort of be able to step into something else.
Yeah. So you've had time off. Have your feet healed? Are you in a lot of pain? Are your feet in pain doing this? I mean, you are in crazy.
Yeah, I'm
kinky
in
boots.
crazy high heels. Probably nothing's lower than 4.5.
Right.
It's interesting because you get used to it.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, going to the gym or anything like that. It's like you build up the stamina.
Right.
Now, we did go back yesterday, and I haven't been in a pair of heels since November 4th.
Because you don't do it in your personal life.
Because I do not do
Just
it in
on
my
stage.
personal life, just on stage. And so I am a little bit in pain, but I know how to build it back up.
I should also say, you're not just wearing these heels. I mean, you are doing crazy Jerry Mitchell choreography.
Yes, I'm dancing in the front like Cheetah.
Oh, I mean, like full out. And there's like a crazy conveyor belt number.
Yes, I do that in flats.
Oh, you are in flats.
I'm
Okay.
in flats for that one.
Okay.
I put my foot down for that.
Literally running on a conveyor belt. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a crazy number. Was that a lot when you first? I know you haven't been acting in something like this. I mean, I know you were in Angels in America.
Yes.
But you took a long hiatus from acting. So what was the process like of getting ready to get back on stage, not just on stage, but as Lola? I mean, is it working out? Is it diet? Is it?
Yeah, I knew that I would have to sort of physically kind of get my body together because of the heels, and I was concerned about my back and,
Right.
being in the heels and stuff. And so I started on my own taking Bikram yoga.
Oh, okay.
Because it's really sort of centering. And what I love about Bikram is that it's the same 26 poses. I think it's 26. It's the same 26 poses in a room that is, about 110 degrees. And then there's this wonderful new gym, boutique gym that has opened up that services a lot of show business people called Mark Fisher Fitness. It's a wonderful, wonderful place, and they've sort of transformed my body.
Are you naturally a workout person?
I am naturally a workout person,
Yeah.
but I've never had the budget
Right.
to actually have a one-on-one
Yeah.
training type session, nutrition,
Right.
like all the things. So it's been nice to discover the science of it. When you can discover the science of it, it becomes far more efficient, and your body changes more rapidly, and it sort of snatches up, as Mark Fisher has a class called Snatched. Snatched in 6 weeks.
And Lola needs to be snatched.
She has to be snatched, honey.
So Billy Porter is now snatched.
Billy Porter is now snatched.
Congratulations on that. Now, when you talk about this yoga, you're not talking about hot nude yoga, are you?
It's
are you
not
naked?
nude.
What are you in? Little shorts? What are you doing?
I have my little booty shorts on, yeah.
Little booty shorts.
I have little booty shorts on. And the boys get to do it without shirts on.
Right.
The
girls
women have
don't.
to, the girls don't. But
Okay. That'd be a lot. That'd be sweaty.
Yes, I do have my shirt off. It's slightly, I tried it before, and there's a smell.
There's a smell
that comes along with Bikram.
Yeah.
But like all of the rooms smell the same. So once you get used to the idea that like they all smell the same, you're like, oh, okay, so it's not
Yeah.
dirty and disgusting, that's the Bikram smell.
Okay.
And so you get used to it, and
And now it's part of your life.
now it's part of my life.
It's part of
yes.
being snatched.
It's part of being snatched.
The smell, there's a smell that goes, there's a funk that goes with the snatch.
Exactly.
So when we first heard that Cyndi Lauper and Harvey Fierstein were writing a musical version of Kinky Boots,
Yes.
I'd seen the movie, and immediately you go, well, who's going to play that part of Lola? And immediately you go, well, Billy Porter. I mean, it was kind of like a natural fit.
Well, that's nice to
I've seen
hear.
you sing your face off on stage. I did see you do a little bit of drag in a little movie called Twisted.
Twisted,
right?
yes.
You have done
Wow,
drag.
you've done your research.
I've done my research.
Because that's,
That little indie
that's
movie.
an old indie chestnut
Who'd you play in
from
that? Shaniqua?
I think her name was Shaniqua.
Yeah, I think it was.
That was back in, I want to say like 96.
Yeah, somewhere back there. But from what I heard, you called Jerry Mitchell and said, "Hello, I'm ready. Let's do this."
Well, yes, I had
You put
taken
yourself out there.
I had taken a break.
Yeah.
Because my career was going down a path that I wasn't comfortable with, and I looked at my life in the future with that path in mind, and I thought, okay, I need to change the direction of where this is, because what I want is something different from what my life is becoming.
What's the path? What do people want your career? I mean, obviously you get shaped by the industry.
Yes. Well, I was pigeonholed very quickly, and I don't say that with any sort of bad blood or
Right,
anything.
right.
It's just the way that it goes.
Right.
It's just the way that the business is. But I came onto the scene. I exploded onto the scene.
It was an explosion.
In the 90s,
Yeah.
and I was that black boy that could sing like
A black woman.
a black
You've said
woman,
that, yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And so I could blow the roof off the place, and it was great, and it was fabulous. And I always thought, coming from Carnegie Mellon, being a trained actor, a
Yeah.
classical actor, my thought was, I'll enter the market, I'll play my trump card, and then I'll expand from there.
Right.
And what I soon learned was that the expansion that I wanted was not happening in the way that I wanted it.
Because of the limited roles? for
Just
black
because of the
performers?
limitations of what my trump card, the box that my trump card placed me into. I became a specialty act.
Because people want to see you come on stage and sing your face off.
Yeah, and it was about me stopping the show, and not about me as a human being, and
Right.
not about my story, and not about me being a human being.
Right, so your talent becomes a liability.
Yes.
Right.
And so I was like, I want people to know that there is a human being behind all of this wackiness. And so I put my foot down and made that clear, sort of in the industry. And, as a result of that, the work kind of dried up. And I was sort of faced with this dilemma of, you could either do the thing that you don't want to do and make bags of money, or you can take the road less traveled. I mean, the last time I was on Broadway was December 31st, 1999.
What was that? Miss Saigon?
Miss Saigon. I had
Right.
gone back to Miss Saigon
Right.
to play John.
Right.
I was in the original cast, and then I went back 9 years later.
Right.
And so, I was set out on this road. I started writing. I went to graduate school at UCLA in the
Yeah.
screenwriting program. I,
Directing, creating
started
shows.
writing. I started directing shows. I never stopped being creative.
Yeah.
But I found this other side of myself and side of my creativity that was very, very fulfilling, I have to say. And I realized that my creativity was a lot less about being a star, which is what initially I thought I wanted, and more about
Superstar, actually.
a
you said.
superstar.
Superstar,
Yes.
not just a star.
Yeah, a superstar, and more about the kind of work that I put out into the universe and the message that I put out into the universe. So I think that I disappeared, and I think that it was easy for people to forget that I was around. And so, Angels in America was announced, and I said, I will come out of semi-retirement. That's the show that
To play
changed my
Belize.
life.
Great role.
That's the kind of work I want to do. I want to do that. And the same thing when they announced Kinky Boots, I said, well, now that's a role that is complete. She's three-dimensional. She's a human being. And it's all the things that I do wrapped up into one. And I want it. And so I've known Jerry for, a couple decades.
Right.
And I called him and I just said, listen, I don't know where you are in the process, but
Consider
I want
me.
that part. I want it. Under no uncertain terms, whatever I need to do to get it, I'll do it. So.
Is there anything emotional about, you're obviously you've been a big part of the industry for a very long time in different ways, like you said. Is there anything emotional about actually being back on a Broadway stage next month when Kinky Boots starts up?
Yes. It's very emotional because the journey, when I set out to take this journey to sort of transform my life, like I said, I came out of the gate blazing.
Right.
And I spent a decade nonstop working. Broadway, film, television, recording, blah, blah, blah. And then all of that imploded and fell in on itself. And so my 30s became about rebuilding, the breaking down of the ego that is so strong in this business. I think when you get success really early like that, there's a subconscious thought pattern that basically says it's always going to be that way. So to have the rug essentially pulled out from under you and to look around and feel like you're completely irrelevant for a long time, and you don't know if that's ever going to change, and to settle into the idea that it's okay, to actually get to the point, to be in that place long enough where you can get to the point where you can surrender to the possibility that it's just not going to happen.
Right.
To have it come back around full circle in this way and have it be exactly on your own terms is, it's made the last 25 years of my life make sense. And I'm just grateful. I'm so, so grateful.
Did you ever consider just literally giving up all aspects of show business and just doing another career? Or?
Well, there were a couple of years where I sort of toyed with the idea of what would it be? I mean, I can't do anything else but be creative. So I knew there would be some sort of creative component to whatever it was that I did. But I was so beat up, especially, by the music business of the 90s, trying to be in the music business, being out, being...
I want to talk about, you had an album that came out on A&M Records.
Yes.
Called Untitled.
Yes.
There was no title. That was the title.
That was the title.
That's very high concept in the music industry.
There was a song on the album called Untitled.
I actually went back and I was looking at your music videos. You have some music videos from that album.
Yeah.
And, okay, so now let's bring up the question of being out.
Yes.
Obviously, you're an out performer.
Yes.
You did a very successful show called Ghetto Superstar.
Yes.
The Man That I Am,
yes.
in parentheses.
Yeah.
And you talked about the man that you are. And I'm trying to remember, was that like the moment where you actually started saying, I'm gay, this is my
I was always out. And that was...
Well, that's why I was watching the music videos. And obviously, you're like this sexy R&B guy with the hot lady rubbing up on you in a car. And it made me wonder if that felt phony? Like, was that an awkward? I mean, and let's all like remind everybody that the '90s were very different than now.
Yeah, this was
Entertainment.
post. I mean, this was pre Frank Ocean.
Well, way pre.
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I mean, it's
Right.
like he's heralded as
Right.
like being this,
Right.
but it was
Yeah.
like there were some of us who were already doing that
Right.
decades before this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there were repercussions,
Right.
which was you don't get to have a career.
Right.
If that's what you want to be, and
Right.
if that's what you're choosing, then you don't get to have a career.
Especially
we
with
don't
R&B.
care. We don't care how well you sing.
Right.
You don't get
Right.
to.
Right.
You know, when you look at somebody like Luther Vandross,
Yeah.
who had to sort of live in, secret.
Right.
So it was
that
just a
your
different
decision
time.
to have the women rubbing up on you in the music videos, or was it like, it's just that's what you have to do?
It was just the way that it
what
was.
you do, right.
It was just what you did.
Right.
And so I tried to. I mean, the video that you're talking about was my first single called "Show Me."
Right.
And my best friend from college was the girl who I was rubbing up on,
Well, what's her name?
Vanita Harbor.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't.
Right.
We had played opposite each other in plays. I'm an
Right.
actor.
It's right.
You know what I
okay.
mean? So it was easy for me to act that, especially with my best girlfriend.
Right.
My
Yeah.
best. I mean, it was like
Right.
that was easy
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it didn't feel like a lie
Right. Okay.
in that moment.
Yeah.
I go back and look at it and I just think, wow, I don't know that today I would make that same decision.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have to make that same decision
Right.
today.
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
completely different
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. And when you were in Greece, which was before that, you're very obviously it's a very flamboyant performance.
Yes.
The beauty school dropout with the hair and the. I mean, that was like one of those unforgettable moments. I have to tell you, like when you see those shows and those certain things, just it doesn't happen that often. But those people that just pop, and it's like, who the hell is that? And you know what I mean? And you were in this crazy cast, Rosie O'Donnell, and at that time, Rosie O'Donnell was obviously very in the closet and dating one of her co-stars, and so that just goes to show how different the time was then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't even really an option.
No, it wasn't an option.
Was that, talking about Grease for a minute, was that a fun cast? I mean,
The cast was great.
Yeah.
It was Hunter Foster and Jessica Stone
Yeah.
and Megan Mullally
Yeah, yeah.
and Rosie O'Donnell. God
everyone,
rest,
I mean-
Jason Upsall, God rest his
Yeah,
soul, who
yeah.
was one of the founders of Broadway Bears.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful, wonderful cast. Jeff Calhoun and Tommy Toome were the directors, and it was great. It was just, it's a bittersweet kind of situation for me because that was the role that sort of cemented my pigeonhole. And so I look at it and it's like, it's one of those things where you're like, ugh, it was so great, but at the same time, I spent the next 17 years trying to dig myself out of that, out of that image.
Right.
Of 14 inches of orange rubber hair and a
Right.
white spacesuit and,
Right.
Little Richard, the
Right.
Little Richard version of
Right.
Beauty School Dropout. So it had, it's been an interesting thing.
Yeah. So back then, did anyone ever say, are you gay? It's interesting, this idea of like coming out, because a lot of it's not really a question people ask. I mean, as a journalist, it's not a question you like throw on the table unless it's like relevant to what you're doing or.
Did anybody ever ask? No, not really.
Right.
They didn't. Nobody really ever asked, but there were always secret meetings,
What kind of secret meetings?
like secret meetings with, my management team about how I would behave.
Oh,
For instance.
like in the
You know,
music time, or
Yes, in the music
Uh-huh.
time, like on television interviews.
Right.
Because especially in the 90s, if you were black,
Yeah.
male, and young, and did not speak in the hip hop vernacular, you were a faggot. Period. That was just the way that it was.
Right.
If you didn't have a chip on your shoulder and you didn't show up talking like Snoop Doggy Dogg, there were people sniffing. It was it was almost like the McCarthy era, like it was like that, and it really was. It really wore on me. It really wore on me because it was like, well, could you just not? And it's like I always say, I love I love the the little kiddies who come out and have and I mean no disrespect, but like the wonderfully successful I'll frame it that way. The wonderfully successful teenagers who explode onto the market and talk about being who you are.
Right.
And it's like, well, it's really easy to be who you are when what you are is what's popular.
Right.
That's easy.
Right.
When you're confronted with being who you are, and that is not only not popular,
Right.
but like completely, reviled,
Right.
then what do?
Right.
It's a very different decision that you have to make in those instances. And that's the decision that I had to make. And I decided to choose my sanity over my fame. Because I was like, this can't kill me.
I want to give a little shout out to your directing career because you directed a bunch of things. I mean, you directed Once on This Island in LA.
Yes, I did.
And you also did the...
I won a NAACP award for that.
NAACP award. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. And you did your Sondheim show, Being Alive. And you have an eye for talent because in that cast, you pulled out Miss Patina Miller.
Patina Miller.
Soon Tony nominee, soon to be seen in Pippin. Leslie Odom Jr. was in there.
Leslie Odom Jr. Right, Josh Henry was in the original cast.
Josh Henry.
Brian Terrell Clark, who was getting ready to play Marvin Gaye in the Motown musical.
Wow.
Yeah, I do have an eye for, if I may say so myself.
Yeah, you could have been an agent.
I do have an eye for the...
Yeah, you spot them.
I actually was at a reading last night where I saw a bunch of them. I was like, her, him.
Are you a proud daddy?
Yeah, I am a proud daddy.
Yeah.
I am, or a proud mama, whichever one you want to, They all call me mama, but yes, I'm a proud mama and daddy.
Right.
That's what you get to be when you're, out and proud.
You've done a lot of things. You were in Dreamgirls. We saw you in Dreamgirls, the Actors Fund benefit. You did Top Dog Underdog, right? In Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia?
Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh, where you're from.
Which is where I'm from.
You did Jesus Christ Superstar.
Up at Nyack.
Is Lola the biggest? Where does Lola fit into this? Where it seems like a pretty big role.
Well, I think Lola is the culmination
of your entire life.
Well, just of all of the aspects of things that I do, because she's everything.
Right.
It's like I get to act, I get to sing, I get to dance.
On a conveyor belt.
On a conveyor belt. And, I have to do it all in a British accent.
Oh, right. We forgot about the accent.
Which is where all of the technique comes in. I took classes. I was...
Yeah.
In theater school,
right,
what I mean?
Right.
So there's a craft that goes along with what I do.
Right.
And that's what's so exciting about Lola.
Yeah.
Is that I just get to she's not for the faint of heart. You got to show up and have some skill to play this part. If you said to me, even as early as 5 years ago, that this would be we just did a photo shoot for Vanity Fair, and I'm literally dressed in my finale costume looking like Beyonce. And it's like, never in a million years, when I was in theater school and they were telling me I was too gay, would I have ever thought that being myself and being true to who I really am would have led to this. It's been a really, really interesting journey.
Well, I have to tell you that it's a thrill for someone like me who's watched you over the years. And there are a lot of talented people in this world who deserve these moments, and you're one of them. And it's exciting to see it happen.
Thank you.
So bravo to you, Mr. Billy Porter.
Thank
and Lola.
you.
I'm glad Lola showed up.
I'm glad Lola showed up. It's so interesting because when I saw that movie, I was like, that's my part. I did, and then they announced it as a musical, and I was like, oh my God!
Right. Do you have any dream roles?
My first dream role was Belize
In
Angels in America.
That's done. Check.
which happened.
Right. So
The
you're
next
done.
the next dream role was this. You know, I didn't know that it was a dream
Right.
until it came around.
Right, right.
And then it was like, that's the dream
Right.
role. You know, because it's creating an archetype. I spent a lot of time trying to sort of fit into other things that had already existed. And thinking, oh, I can change the way people think by doing this traditional thing differently.
Right, right.
And it never happened that way.
Right.
Because my whole life was leading me to this moment,
Right.
which is, this is the archetype that hasn't existed before. You get to be that guy.
Right. Let's think about all the think about like 20 years from now when all the high schools are doing this and the little gay African
The little
American
gay
boy.
black boys. It makes me, it chokes me up all the time.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I was that guy and there was nothing for me to do.
Yeah.
You know, and now there's something
Now
for
he's gonna
all of
get to
those
be
people
fierce
to do.
for the whole town to watch.
It's such a, it's just, you know, I don't even, I have no words for it. It's
Yeah.
so profound.
He'll be
you
listening to
know.
the cast album, listening to you, and trying to sing like Billy Porter. Good luck, little boy. Good luck. Well, I also want to acknowledge that you are on social media. You actually recently tweeted. You've been on Twitter for a while, but you started again, and you actually recently tweeted.
I can't keep up.
I just want
think
to read
I'm
it.
aging out.
You wrote, "Hello world, I have returned. If President Obama can tweet, I need to get with it." If Obama can do it, Billy Porter can do it.
I have all of the accounts, and it's like I have the account, and I do the Facebook thing, but then there's the Instagram and
Well,
the
and on
tweeting
Instagram,
and the
you're-
Tumblr
you are-
and the
you
blah
are-
blah blahs and the.
You are Flo Evans,
I'm Flo Evans.
which of course is Esther Roll's character
Yeah.
on Good Times. So Flo Evans on Instagram.
Is it
and-
Flo Evans there?
Yes, and
The Billy Porter. Thee.
Billy Porter.
The Billy
On
Porter.
Twitter.
On Twitter.
Who's the other Billy? There's a lot of Billy Porters.
Well, I don't know. I just
it's
wanted
grand.
it to be the. It's
a-
very grand.
It's a grand moment. So thank you so much, Billy.
Thank
you
you.
for coming in, and
Of course.
everyone go check out Kinky Boots at the Al Hirschfeld Theater starting March 3rd, and cheer on Mr. Billy Porter.
Come see me.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.